Welcome to GameFellas, the Retro to Modern Gaming Podcast, episode 17. Tonight we're going to do something different. I don't have a script tonight. I don't have a plan. The coronavirus is destroying the world, so we're going to try and just have some fun tonight and chill out with some old friends, which are Nate Rowe. How you doing, Nate?
What's happening? It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a while for you since the New Year's episode, so glad to have you back, man.
Appreciate it. I'm now living, as you can see, in Mos Eisley, and I've made new friends.
Yes, you
it's
have.
Going great. My life is going great.
For sure. Also with us tonight is Tony Brasel, our regular resident Mega Man Final Fantasy guru.
Hi.
Hi.
What's up?
He's so enthused.
Yeah,
I am. I'm just glad to be here.
Tony's got nothing to say.
I don't have anything to say.
Tony is apparently doing the Ben Stein portion of the tonight's show.
There you go. You can be Ben Stein. It's
You
beautiful.
have dry eyes.
Yes.
Do you have? No, I can't do it. I can't do an impersonation. Sorry.
We also have Derik Moore, who's not on camera producing, but he's gonna be a regular co-host today too. So
Always fun to
he just
back
doesn't
on
want
hanging
to.
out.
Yeah, he just doesn't want to wear pants tonight, so that's fine.
Or ever.
He heed his request. And our featured guest tonight is a Mr. Stephen Wilds, a.k.a. Bane, I guess, right?
Yes, and I'm featured. It's an honor. Thank you.
You're featured and an old friend.
Right.
So Stephen is coming on to talk about, he's a games writer, and he's going to talk about games journalism with us tonight.
I am.
Yes, which
I
is
would
going to
normally
be
bring
fun.
cigarettes and coffee so I could look like an official writer, some sort of bourbon, but tonight it's just Dr. Pepper.
Nothing wrong with Diet Dr. Pepper,
Diet
excuse
Dr.
you.
Pepper.
Yes,
Yeah,
even
sorry.
better. All right, so that being said, we're going to start like we always do with what we've been playing. That much I've got planned. So, Mr. Wilds, why don't you start us off since you're our guest? What have you been playing lately, man?
Oof. Let's see. So, I'm hitting all the stuff most people are who are spending a lot of extra time at home. I am currently playing Resident Evil 3 Remake. I'm almost done with that. I played it until about. I like it. I like it a lot. I don't know if it's better than RE2 Remake, which I really liked, but it's still good. I played it until about 7 a.m. yesterday. And I had to quit. And my wife was like, "Why did you quit? You only have like an hour and a half left of the game." And I was like, should have finished it.
I was going to say, your wife said you're up till 7 a.m. playing a game, and your wife's like, "Why didn't you finish?"
Yeah. Sorry. I should point out, I guess, she's the type of person, she streams a lot. She does speed runs.
Yeah, that's right.
So she's an enabler.
Okay.
Yeah.
You have the gaming wife, I forgot. Yeah.
And she does it in a cute little British accent. So, you don't realize that she's trying to harm you, until it's too late. But I've been playing a ton of Doom Eternal. I really like Doom Eternal, minus a few small things.
How do you like it compared to Doom 2016? Like some people were saying it's not as good for certain reasons. I've got it sitting there in the box. I haven't played it yet, but I'm going to. What do you think about that?
So I may or may not have an article coming out about that. But
do tell.
I had to wait until I get some confirmation emails, unfortunately. But I like it. The one thing that I will say is that I was a big proponent for them putting in more platforming. And when I first started doing all this extra platforming that they had put in, I didn't like it. But after, getting better hang of it, and there's a glyph that you can get in the game that gives you more control in midair. So ton of stuff that you can work with. And even if you don't like the platforming, the shooting is so good and it's so fun. And some of the improvements they've made from 2016 to this are really worth it.
How are the glory kills compared to the first game? Is there a big difference in how that's done, or
not really? That's something that didn't really change.
That's fine. The glory kills were amazing. That was the best part of the game.
The one complaint that I kind of have with that is that in the beginning you do a very comical glory kill where you bash someone's head to where it's basically looks like a cartoon, like with it sitting on their shoulders. And once you get later in the game, you don't see that one anymore. And I was complaining because I wanted more of that particular glory kill. But yeah, otherwise Doom is great. and my wife, speaking of her, has already beaten it on nightmare mode, and she made me look bad because I've only beaten it on normal. And so now I'm like, do I dare to go through it on nightmare mode? And the answer is no. I will not.
Absolutely not.
I think you're our first person we've had on this podcast whose spouse is also a big gamer. I know we've had people on
with better gamer. You mean
or that, or even.
Gamer, yeah.
But I mean, a lot of people we have on, it's like their spouses are maybe just casually into gaming or just not at all. And it's interesting. It's fun to hear you. It's great. I really do love it. And lately, because a lot of the games that have been coming out are things that she's a huge fan. She speed runs Resident Evil 7. So, when Resident Evil 3, which was her favorite game, got a remake, she was all over that. Doom 2016, she beat on Nightmare. Bug Doctor, whom you know pretty well, was trying to convince her to do it on the next highest level, which I think is Ultra Nightmare. It's the one with the permadeath. I don't know if she's going to do it there. But so you die and you're dead. That's it.
I do believe you can save after a full level, but if you're not aware, those levels are very long.
Yeah.
And so it lives up to its name, being Ultra Nightmare.
Yeah.
I also play a lot of retro games. I stream on Twitch every Tuesday, and I usually play. Lately, we've been doing more retro stuff. I'm not a Sega person. I did not grow up with a Genesis.
Ooh.
However. Yeah, I know. I'm sorry. But I, however, have been going through the Sega library a little bit on my streams lately and, just finding a few gems, but mostly running into games. I'm like, I'm okay. I'm glad I didn't play this. But there's a lot of stuff that's just neat because I've never had a chance to play it. And as someone who writes about video games a lot, I want to expand my knowledge as much as possible on every era of gaming that I can find.
That's good, man. Okay, cool. Well, thank you, Mr. Wilds. Why don't we move on to Nate? What have you been playing, man?
With the move and starting a new job and stuff, not a whole lot. I've been playing Final Fantasy 14 with Tony, and so been putting in a lot of hours into that.
How do you like it?
It's really. I want to give an honest answer and not hurt Tony's feelings.
Oh, no, you're not going to hurt me. I understand.
As if we haven't talked about Final Fantasy 14 enough on this podcast.
I said this to him the other day, which is I've played quite a few MMOs, and I have never seen one so many things being story locked. Like, you have to go through the story to unlock things. And it is a long story. Like I was doing nothing but pushing through story, and I still feel like I made it to the first DLC, but there was so much stuff that I just skipped over because I'm just trying to push through. You know what I mean? So I can get to the end. But I guess it really just depends what you play. What you wanting out of a MMO experience. If you want a true story MMO, that's the one for you, for sure. Especially if you like the Final Fantasy franchises, and because they pay a lot of homage to the older games.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so the music, it's so crazy. It's so tight when I pass by Tony's desk and he'll be doing something at the Golden Saucer, and it's the straight up music, just a better version from Final Fantasy 7, or there's Final Fantasy 8 music playing, the overworld music is playing or something, you know what I mean? It's some of that's pretty tight.
Yeah, it's great.
Been playing a little Borderlands 3 here the past few days, actually.
You back into it again? Because you played it when it first came out, right?
Yeah, apparently there's a couple DLCs out for it now. So
that's right.
Check those out. They increased the level cap a little bit, so I'm gonna check out some stuff, maybe follow a build on YouTube. But yeah, been doing a lot of playing real life here recently, and not as much video.
Yeah, man, big life change. So yeah, totally understand. Cool. All right, thanks, Nate. Mm-hmm. Derik, Mr. Producer, what have you been playing, man?
I'm like Bane. I bought Doom Eternal and Animal Crossing in the same week they came out. I've already beaten Doom Eternal. I did not do it on Nightmare. I'm not going to admit which difficulty level it was. But I've been enjoying honestly, Animal Crossing New Horizons, I'm enjoying it. I've never really played a game in the series, but right now my job is stressful because I work at a toilet paper factory. So it's kind of nice to have that just stress relief when I come home. And then, of course, Magic the Gathering Arena, and some bastard, the gamer I won't name, has got me back into Final Fantasy 14.
I wonder who that could be.
Well, he bastard the gamer.
I bet if I look at Discord, someone is already in there right now.
Surprise, surprise, no.
Oh, you're playing Magic.
What do you think of? We haven't talked about Animal Crossing. I'm sure Tony's going to talk about it. But what do you think of it, Derik? What are your thoughts on the Animal
I think
Crossing?
it's great.
I've never played a game. For people who have never played one like me, like what the hell do you do in Animal Crossing?
It's honestly kind of like a city/life simulator. You can build your little area, go fishing, gather resources, but it's kind of like this time you're going to an island. There's no one there before, and you're setting up a colony. But it's just a nice little time sink that you can do and just kind of sit in the background with it. You know, it's kind of like when you're really hungover and you don't want to think, and you watch Sesame Street in the morning. It's kind of like that. You just sit back and enjoy it without having to put too much thought into it.
There you go. Okay.
And I'm probably the only person who's ever going to compare an Animal Crossing game to a hangover.
Probably, yeah.
Or watch Sesame Street.
Or Sesame Street.
No, to be fair, that's a good relaxing show when you're drunk. I understand.
But the whole cutesy art style Animal Crossing, that's Sesame Street's probably a good comparison to that, I would say. I don't know. From what I've seen. Thank you, Derik. Tony, Animal Crossing.
Mostly Animal Crossing, yes. Well, no, not mostly.
Liar. I was going to say, fucking liar.
Mostly Final Fantasy 14. I'm working on...
it's a true addiction.
It is. Well, I mean,
Yeah,
I went for months
man.
where I wasn't playing it. And then when Nate moved in, he pretty much, he said, I really want to get into an MMO again, and I'm thinking about getting into Final Fantasy 14. And I hadn't been playing it, and was like, oh, well, if you're going to play Final Fantasy 14, and then now I'm addicted to it, and that's like, I play it for hours and hours and hours, and I'm working
1,600 hours.
Yeah, so that's
something like
total.
that.
Yeah, 1,600 hours total on one character. That's
I feel
over
so
several
bad.
years.
I feel so bad because, like, I pass him all the time playing it, right? It's like, in my mind, it's like the fucking... like Pink Floyd is playing and he's sitting there like having just shot up heroin. Just like,
hello,
and just two lost souls living in a fishbowl. Every time I pass it, anyway.
Nate, you're a fucking enabler. You know that?
You two were doing it to each
I didn't
other.
know it was going to go off the deep end like this. It's not my fault.
You're dual enabling.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I've been trying to get all my jobs up to level 80, which is the cap, and having a lot of fun with it. But I've also been playing Animal Crossing, and the first couple hours, or the first 20 hours or 20 or 30 hours, I really enjoyed it. But I'm still kind of playing it every day. I'll pick it up and do a couple chores, and I just get tired of it because, like, at this point, it just feels like a chore simulator. Like, I'm just doing the same thing every single day. I might be able to buy, a new item or two to decorate my house or my island, but it's like there's not much more depth beyond that. Unlike, say, Stardew Valley, which I really love, but Stardew Valley has very minor, but it has a story, and then you can also like romance characters and everything. But like Stardew Valley's got or Animal Crossing New Horizons has like all these villagers that you can recruit. They've got like 5 different personalities, and that's it. There's just like 5 personalities among all of the villagers.
So is Animal Crossing kind of Stardew Valley light, sort of?
No,
they're different.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, there's some similar stuff there, like with the chores and stuff. But for the most part,
games.
Stardew Valley is very much a farming simulator in a way.
Okay.
And this is just a run around, catch bugs and catch fish and
Animals.
Yeah, it's not a bad game, but I'm just already getting kind of sick of it.
This is a game that definitely benefited from the virus, I would say.
Oh yeah,
I feel like a lot of people are playing it that wouldn't normally be.
there are a lot of hardcore fans of Animal Crossing out there.
Sure.
And like they've been hyping. Like I know a bunch of people that have hyped this up. I've been watching people playing Animal Crossing games on stream prior, just like right leading up to this release, and they had a lot of fun playing it. I was like, I think I could get into it, and yeah, it's fun. It's a fun little diversion, but it's not like at this point I can't sit there and play it for more than like 30 minutes or so before I'm like, okay, I'm done with this. So
if it had more of like Stardew Valley stuff, like you wanted to I know you said you'd like to have romance in the characters, so you can make an Animal Crossing New Horizontals. But if they added more stuff, would you go back to it? Like if they had it in the DLC, you think you'd go right back into it?
I don't know. I mean, I'm still playing it now. It's not like I'm saying I'm over it or I'm done with it. It's just not.
Just not for long periods of time.
Not for long periods of time.
Yeah. I just want to say this. I am so tired of these fucking eggs we're getting for.
Oh yeah, they've got this.
Okay, what's the egg thing?
Yeah, what's that? Explain that.
I keep seeing it
too, and I don't know what it is.
They've got a seasonal event going on, and it's called the Bunny Day, which it's leading up to Bunny Day on April 12th, which Easter. It's the Easter event. And so instead of like, when you go fishing and you'll catch fish, sometimes or like half the time now you're going to catch an egg, and it's like, I don't fucking care about this egg. I'm trying to get fish, because the fish are valued more, and on top of that, you might be able to get a fish that you haven't had, so you could put it in the museum. The same goes for like you're beating up rocks so you can get ore and crafting supplies, but then these eggs will pop out, and then they've got all these like really hideous crafting recipes for furniture and stuff that's all like egg and Easter themed, and it's like, I don't give a shit about this. And like they're like, Nintendo's like forcing it down your throat.
And I mean, it's literally everywhere.
It's everywhere. And it's just obnoxious.
I want to thank you for explaining that, because I've been seeing it and didn't know. And I'd already had to bother Daria and ask her what Blathers was. Yeah. So I'm glad you took that bullet.
Did you happen to see my interaction with Daria and some other people on Twitter? Because I have an owl that's hanging out in my yard, right?
Oh, yeah.
For about a month. And so I'm like, hey, I got this owl. What should I name it? Everyone was like, Blathers. And I'm like, what the hell is Blathers? And they're like, Animal Crossing. So I named him Blathers. That's his name. And I go say hi to him every day.
He looked cool. I did see the picture of the owl.
Yeah.
I just want to point out you did get one vote that wasn't Blathers.
Archimedes.
2. I have one for you.
What was yours again?
Jim.
Yeah, that's right. Just Jim. Yeah, we'll just name him Jim. He's dead, Jim.
Archimedes is good for a Sword in the Stone.
Sword in the Stone, yeah. Blathers, everyone said Blathers, and it was timely. So, all right. Thank you, Tony. Yeah, Tony was going. Okay, so it's my turn. I haven't been playing much. I'm still chugging through Kentucky Route Zero, which is like an 8-hour game maybe, and I'm like, it's taken me like a month to beat it because the game is so obtuse and strange that I can only play it for about 30 minutes to an hour at a time. So whenever I feel like
it took 5 years to make or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm I'm also it's so visually engrossing that I'm trying to just take my time and really enjoy the visuals more than anything. It's very the dialogue and everything is super cryptic and strange, and the story is kind of I'm not sure you're supposed to really know what's going on completely. It's very like I said, very obtuse. Obtuse is the word I keep coming back to for this game. It's really a strange game, but yeah, like I mentioned before in the last episode, I think they finally finished it after 7 years. I think just this January, the last episode was released, and super cool game. But if you don't like basically walking simulators, which is basically what this is, you won't like it because there's really not a lot of gameplay per se. It's more like you walk around, an event happens. It's like set piece after set piece, that you kind of go to. But I really like it. It's really cool. It's just taking me a while to get through it. The other game I've been playing is Devil Engine, which is a shmup. And I kind of took a break from shmups after my Star Fox run because that burned me the hell out on shmups for a while. But got back to it. And Devil Engine was one Mark has been telling me about for a while. And it's a kind of a Thunder Force inspired shmup. Came out last year. It's on Switch. It's on PS4, PC, basically everything. I'm playing the Switch version. And at first, I kind of was like, "This is kind of simple." You know, I know that some people, Nate, think that all shmups are simple, but
Where does that come from? I didn't.
Oh, we had a debate one time about it. It's okay, man. I'm just messing with you.
Okay.
But
no, fuck you. No.
yeah, fuck me. Like there's only three weapons you can use, and you can't switch them on the fly. You have to collect them, and which kind of bummed me out. Like Thunder Force was more complex weapons wise, and maybe the way the levels were designed. But the more I play Devil Engine, the more I've kind of gotten into it. It's a little more bullet hell than I think Thunder Force was. Like there's definitely some stages that it's all about just dodging bullets. You know, Derek's playing some footage now where you can kind of see, but this guy is raping the game. It looks like, but it's pretty cool. I'm enjoying it. It's a pretty good shmup. I think there's only 5 or 6 stages. Maybe it's not a super long game, I don't think. But
just so you know, on my stream last week, I ended up somebody requested that I play Thunder Force 3 because they wanted to hear they wanted to hear the soundtrack. They were like, "This,"
which is an amazing soundtrack. Yep.
It is. It was a great soundtrack. But man, I was struggling with that. Like I think I made it to like the end of stage 2. There was a boss or so. I don't know why. And I'm obviously, because of my vision, I'm not great with shmups. I miss a lot of little stuff that kills you. Right. But I was like, I can beat at least stage 2. I was wrong. I was totally wrong.
Which one was stage 2 for you? Because you can select which way you go.
Yeah.
You don't remember? Was it the fire stage, the ice stage?
No, it was like a forest. It was very green. Had a bunch of stuff in the foreground.
Oh, that's an easy stage, man. See, Thunder Force 3 is one of the easier Thunder Force games. Honestly.
Is it? See,
Tony
you're not making me.
That's the only one I've beaten.
Yeah, Tony.
You're not making me feel better though.
Try Thunder Force 4, then you're gonna have some serious problems.
Yeah, I Thunder Force 4 like scares me.
Yeah,
like I have it because Zack graciously got me a copy, and every once in a while I'll pop it in and I just look at it. It's just like, oh man, this game is so cool. It sounds dense. So great. It is so freaking hard.
Yeah. It's a dense, kind of complicated shmup for what it is.
Is that the one that we played, Tony?
No.
Which one did we play?
Oh, we were playing Legendary Wings. That's what we were playing.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That's a fun game. That's one of my favorites.
Yes, that's a nice, easy, fun shmup.
Yeah, that's
to play.
That's a really good one.
I thought it was hard as hell. So
seriously.
Yes.
Legendary Wings?
Well, wow. Yeah, but he's not.
I mean, I don't
he's not experienced in
shmups.
shmups. So yeah.
So Legendary Wings, Tony got
I'm gonna ride the back burner with Wilds on being shitty at fucking shmups.
I remember though, like easy shmup is like saying weakest steel beam.
Yeah.
It's still hard as hell.
Here's some fun facts about Legendary Wings. The first fun fact is the sound effect I use for transitioning from one segment to the other in this podcast is a sound from Legendary Wings.
Oh, really?
Yes, it is. See, Tony doesn't even know that because he doesn't watch the
podcast. Called out.
But see, Tony got me into that game like a couple years ago, and I played it. I'm not trying to brag, but I just don't think the game's that hard. So, like, I decided I'm going to beat this game without dying. I'm going to do 1 CC. So I did it on my second try. It really isn't that difficult, man. But
if you're very experienced with shmups,
if you're experienced in shmups, sure, right. So anyway, Devil Engine. Okay, I got to tell you a few more things about this game. This is a game that trolls you, right? So when you start the game, you have 2 difficulties you can choose: very easy or very hard. And if you choose very easy, it trolls you. Like it says, you're a weakling or whatever, So I was like, screw this. I'm going to play it on very easy. But very easy is not very easy. It's still really hard. I still haven't beat it. I've been playing it for a couple weeks now, and I still can't beat the game, even on very easy. So it's tough, man. It is a fun game. It's not super complex for a shmup. It's a little more simple, but it's a fun game. I enjoy it a lot. And yeah, that's what I've been playing. So, Mr. Wilds, you are our featured guest, and we brought you on tonight to talk about your experience writing in the games industry. And
this isn't the pizza podcast. We were going to talk about weird toppings on pizzas.
I thought we were talking about pizza.
That will be next after Wilds.
I'm just going to say I'm still mad we shot down my idea. I just wish I was legally allowed to say what it was.
Okay.
We shoot down 99 out of 100. Derek's idea.
But that one is fucking gold.
For the safety of our own viewers' ears. You know what I mean?
Indeed. All right, so why don't you tell us a little about we can start with your overall experience, just, you know, your struggles, your triumphs, your, you know, the Playboy gig you got, you know, go for it, man. Just
Man, you're throwing my ace out there.
I know. Sorry, man.
So
Start at the beginning. Tell us how you
Just
got into it.
embellish. Tell us
how
that
you got
you
into
wrote
it.
it at
Yeah.
the mansion. You know what I mean? Like you were in the love grotto when you were writing these articles.
I had half edited it. It was great. No, so short version, I guess, is that you know, typical day like any writer. I wake up and I push the beer bottles off of my chest and, you know, fall out of bed, wander around for 8 hours, then maybe take a shower.
Even when there's not a pandemic going on.
Right. Yeah. No. So honestly, you know, I worked, you know, at a bookstore, and I was trying to transition to a teaching job. And at the time, you know, I was writing fiction, and it's very hard to get published writing fiction if you're not willing to do certain things. And if you can't find an agent, that was one of the problems I was having, was finding an agent. So while I was working on polishing a new script, one of my friends, a good close friend, suggested, hey, you should try writing some nonfiction stuff. You're into gaming. You're very good at describing, you know, certain emotions and stuff that gaming does. And, you know, just looking a little bit deeper into especially retro games. I was like, oh, okay, you know, I don't know about this, but, you know, it'll be a good exercise. It'll help me grow as a writer. And at the time, I was just convinced, okay, this is going to be a short, temporary thing, and I'm going to go back to writing fiction. But I spent another year, you know, sending out scripts, and I even wrote another novel in this period. And
what was it about, your novel? Were they science fiction novels?
Yeah. Which one? The first one was a novel about a main character who dies, and she comes to find out that certain people, when they die, they're basically, you know, it's kind of a predestined thing, and there are these classic horror monsters, not like Freddy or, you know, Michael Myers or whatever, but more like, you know, the Wolfman and, you know, the thing from the Black Lagoon and
right, classic horror stuff.
Yeah. And these guys are real, and there's this whole subgroup of people that keep making movies and doing stuff to basically keep the public thinking that they're not real. And so, you know, the people who die and that are, you know, predetermined to die and everything, they have to basically go clean up the mess and hunt the monsters who get out of hand, who are killing more than they should. And so it was a really nice setup. Unfortunately, a lot of people who I talked to the idea, you know, were like, you know, you need to expand on this so it doesn't sound like this or whatever. And then, so the second novel I wrote was a futuristic, post-apocalyptic, zombie space station. Basically, nobody could live on Earth anymore, so they all went and lived on this really nice space station.
Dude, this sounds like that show, The 100 or whatever, or, you know, probably before that.
I've never seen that. And so in my book, the space station that the government's got together and built, and the place where everybody did their zombie hunting from, was called Elysium. Well, then Matt Damon had to go and make a movie called Elysium, where people live in a space station above the Earth because the Earth has gotten too shitty. And I was pissed at Matt Damon, and I'm still kind of pissed at Matt Damon.
Well, it was Neil. It's Neil Blomkamp is the one you should be mad at. Yeah, the director.
That's true. I can't spell his name though, and I can't spell
either.
Matt Damon.
I love his movies though. He's done some great movies.
Yeah. So anyway, I wrote those two books, and I even started a third one. And at some point, I found a couple of websites to write for free. Because when you're starting out as a games writer, you write for free. You either write on your own personal blog or you write on somebody else's page for free. If you get really lucky, you might get paid per view. There's sites out there that, you know, pay you by how many views you get.
There was another site that you wrote for free. What was it called again?
That's in a minute. You're jumping ahead again.
Okay, sorry.
So I wrote for these couple of websites, and it was fun, but the people running the websites weren't professional editors, and they weren't, you know, they were kind of just, you were writing for free because they were just running it. They weren't really making money off of it. You know, they were making just enough basically maybe to keep the site going. And in most cases, that wasn't even true. So I worked for those couple places, but then I was like, I need to, if I'm going to really do this, I need to get my work on some sites that look better on a resume and that have a bigger reach. So then I went online and I started looking for places, and thankfully, modern era, you can go online and find writing jobs online. And even if they're not paid jobs, you're like, I'll go to these places and I'll write a couple of articles and it'll look good on my portfolio. Well, you end up finding places you like and you end up staying there for like 3 years, and that's when a particular site came about. I believe you're familiar with it.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, probably. And while I was writing at Gaming Rebellion was actually when I was on Twitter one day. And I just want to point out that almost every good thing that has ever happened to me in the writing world, and bad thing also, has happened on Twitter. I've discovered so many writing gigs through Twitter, found networking possibilities, editors, everything.
But the only reason we're all sitting here is because of Twitter. Honestly, that's how I met Tony, and Derik and Nate. Maybe, and I don't know. I don't remember if I met Nate that way, but
sure.
But
I was just on the internet sticking my thumb out, and they stopped.
Yeah, basically.
You're internet hitchhiking.
But we'll get to the Gaming Rebellion story in the second part of the podcast. But yeah, that was our website. But yeah,
I was going to say, the way you guys were building that up, like at a certain gaming website you may have heard of, people are like, "Did he work at IGN?
I know, right?"
I was thinking Homestar Runner.
GameSpot? Where was he? And then we're like, Gaming Rebellion, that site you've never heard of. Yeah.
I have unfortunately not cracked the IGN bubble. But no, while I was working at Gaming Rebellion, which I did enjoy a lot, and the advantage is, and I know we'll talk about this in a little bit, the advantage is when you're working for these smaller places, you might not be getting paid as much in exposure, but you get to do more creative things. You get to do more personal projects and write things that you really want to write. But I got really lucky in that they were putting out some calls for pitches. By this point, like, I'm still in the mindset, I'm going to go back to writing fiction. And then Playboy killed that. So I basically got to write an article about Sonic the Hedgehog cartoons and comparing all the Sonic the Hedgehog cartoons.
So hold on.
Yeah.
For people who don't know, Playboy had a gaming website, right, or a gaming section on their website.
It had a gaming section, which
so
sadly doesn't exist anymore.
Right. So why don't you start with how you got that gig, how that came about, and if you know anything about why Playboy decided to start a gaming section of their website, because I think it's interesting.
I don't even know exactly why they decided to start a gaming section, except that they had a lot of crossover. There were a lot of gamers who were, Playboy, for a lot of people, you have multiple people are either surprised that Playboy still put out print magazines at the time, or, whatever. This is before go ahead.
Was this when they got rid of the nudity in the magazines?
This was right before. This was right before that.
Right before that. So they were kind of positioning that, right? So
yeah.
They were trying to be maximum.
Gamers love to masturbate. Let's do this. Like,
that's pretty much what I think.
Gamer section in here, like they're all at home jerking off anyway. Let's just bring it together. You know what I mean?
I think that's how that meeting happened. I'm not kidding. You may have heard recently in the news, they actually just announced that they, we're going to stop doing print magazines. I think it's in May. I think May or April.
Didn't even know that. Wow, that's a sad time, man.
The industry is changing. It has been
just in general.
Time. Yeah, and Playboy, have passed, and whatever. It's a lot going on. But so anytime I would tell people that I was writing for Playboy, even if it was about Sonic the Hedgehog cartoons or whatever, I get to do a lot of pieces there. About Ninja Turtle video games. I got to do a lot of collecting articles on, 10 NES games you have to have in your library, stuff like that.
Yeah.
I did some cosplay articles. I did a little bit of everything. And I worked with some amazing people there. My editor, Mike Rowe, he's at GameSpot now. He's a fantastic editor. To get notes back from him. And he was tough, but he would, he would sharpen iron, as they say. That's one thing I'm very thankful for, is I've had a lot of tough editors, but it's always come out for the better. They've made me a better writer. But whenever you tell someone that you write for Playboy, they everybody makes the joke. It's like, well, I read it for the articles, of course. And then everybody wants to know if you're in the print magazine. And the truth was, at the time, the gaming articles just weren't, most of those were not making the print magazine. You know, you might have one big gaming article in not even every issue of Playboy. So my goal while I was there was, of course, to try to get one in the print magazine. That's all I wanted. But it didn't happen. And then what really kind of changed everything was I'm still working on my books. I'm just getting all these rejection letters, and I finally get an email, same thing, on Twitter. I just happened to be on the right side of Twitter, wrong time of night, and I see a request. And that request ended up leading me to write for a certain Ultimate NES Guidebook by one Mr. NES Pat the NES Punk Country. Yeah. And so I ended up doing, I think, about 9 to 11 entries in that book. And once that happened and that was in print, you know, I was like, man, okay, I can't believe I'm saying this, but maybe I want to do this a little bit more now. And I can still do fiction on the side, but it was weird because with fiction, like I said, you don't get paid, you don't get any of the recognition until your book gets picked up. But with this, I could do smaller projects that didn't take as long, and I was, you know, starting to get paid for these projects, and I could put out something, you know, once every 2 weeks, once every 3 weeks, and people could see what I was working on, and not just, you know, this thing where you keep going to your family reunions and you're like, yeah, I'm still working on that book, and you know they're all laughing at you from the background, you know. So, yeah. But that's pretty much how it started, and you know, since then I've continued to work. I've been at some wonderful sites like Paste. I've written for, you know, Unwinnable. I've done some stuff. The bigger ones lately have been for Polygon and Looper, and just a ton of places. PlayStation Lifestyle, just a little bit of everything. I'm kind of a whole.
This is mostly it's freelance work, right? A lot of it.
Oh yeah, it's all freelance. No, haven't managed to work that into a gig.
How does that work? Like, how do you get like
horribly?
Well, I mean, like Polygon, for instance. How did you get that gig? Like, how did you end up?
Twitter, man.
Twitter. Okay, it's all about putting yourself out there.
You get jobs one or two ways, I've discovered. You're either online or you're in a group. Like I'm in a couple of writers groups, and they go, hey, these people are looking for new writers. Or 9 times out of 10, even those are just things they found on Twitter or social media, where one of these editors has been like, hey, if you know about Star Wars, if you know about Magic the Gathering, I need this. I actually just last week tried to apply for writing lore text for Magic the Gathering cards, but that they had like 5,000 people apply, and I missed the deadline.
God. Yeah.
But, you know, so the other way that you do it is there were times I submitted an article for Red Dead Redemption 2. I had this great article, and the guy was like, listen, I can't pay you what this article is worth. And so he was like, have you tried pitching it to these people? And I'm like, I would, but I don't have a contact for them. I don't have an email address for them. And he's like, don't worry, just I didn't give you this. And so, you know, it works kind of like that sometimes. Sometimes other people will point you in the right direction.
Okay. Interesting, man. So a lot of freelance work, just putting yourself out there, literally.
Yeah. It's putting you got to pitch. So every time you want to get a gig, you have to send them an idea. A pitch is about 100 to 200 words of you being able to put your idea concisely. And you're not only saying, you know, this is what I want to write about, but you're saying what the hook is and why you think people will want to read it. And you're selling, it's, you know, it's like people always talk about an elevator pitch. So you're selling your stuff there. And once that pitch goes through, you'll usually send in an email 2 to 3 pitches, and they'll pick one, usually, maybe 2 if you're lucky, and you'll get to write about that. And that's, you know, that's when it works. It's a great feeling. When it doesn't, you get a ton of rejections. You get a lot of, I love your work, or I love this idea, but I don't have the budget. I, you know, can't do this right now. Or my favorite is, I get a lot of, man, that's a great article. But we ran that article pretty much like a week ago. Like, some other writer thought that up and said it before you. Sorry.
Especially when it's something that's timely, then there's always the risk of someone beating you to the punch,
Sure.
Why don't we pivot a little bit, and why don't we talk, maybe this is something we can all get involved in. What do we think about the current state of gaming journalism? Like, obviously, since the advent of YouTube and everything, I feel like there's less and less written word articles being written about games, and a lot of it's pivoted to streaming and to video content. And I mean, Stephen, what do you think about that in general? Has that affected, since you've been doing this, has that affected your
sure.
What do you think about that? And we can go from there.
So I don't want to get too deep into it because there's things that you would have to look into and draw your own personal opinion.
Right.
But what happened, there was a big pivot to video by a lot of places. A good chunk of this was actually started by Facebook. Facebook was really, pushing the whole pivot to video thing in a lot of ways. And there are people who can tell you more about what exactly happened, but you saw a lot of these big sites having to get rid of people because they were cutting down the staff and going to video, or they were asking authors to transition into being on-air talent. And some, weren't good at that or didn't want to do that. And either way, it usually meant cutting back because video revenue is, even though it's the future and everything, it doesn't seem to draw as much. It's weird. It's a minefield in the sense of you have all these places that feel like they have to go with the flow, but at the same time, they usually don't do it smoothly.
Right. Well, for instance, if I go to GameSpot, for instance, and I click on a review and I want to read a review and an autoplay video pops up of the review, I immediately turn it off. I'm like, I don't want to watch that. I want to read the review. That's me, but I think that's probably what you're talking about, sort of like, I feel like the autoplay is still an annoyance that's there, but I feel like a lot of sites like IGN and GameSpot and maybe to a lesser extent Polygon and Kotaku were really pushing that their videos, and a lot of them were just they were hosting their own videos on the site. It wasn't even through YouTube or anything, and they were forcing it down your throat, But all I wanted to do was read a couple paragraphs, a review of a game. But there it is in your face, blaring as you open up the article,
You kind of fought back hard on me. I remember in our Gaming Rebellion days, like there was a time where I tried to push for more video content. I was like, we need to find more video guys. And you made it very clear at one point, this is a writing site. We put articles up here. People want to read. They don't want to watch videos. They want to read shit. And I was like, okay.
This was probably 2015 or something, 5 years ago. You're right,
I'm glad
man.
he did, because otherwise my fat ass wouldn't have been on the site.
But anyway.
To be fair, whenever we looked at our numbers, I mean, in our situation, it was definitely...
for sure, but it was also non-comparative as to how many articles we had versus how many videos we had at the time. You know what I mean? So it's not a big deal. I'm just saying, it's hard to not be in that video if you're gonna survive as a creator like that. It's got to be hard to not be in that realm.
Sure, although our numbers would be better just from written articles usually, as opposed to us just posting someone's video. It's funny how I see Derik has our Gaming Rebellion open the site, and I'm seeing all these thumbnails of people's videos, Pam's videos and Andrew's videos and Tony's videos, and people that we used to post their vids on the site. But all it was a link to their video on YouTube. So whereas bigger places like IGN and GameSpot just they host it all on their site, and we just didn't have that ability.
And we didn't have there's nowhere to do that really unless you've got a bunch of money to drop in there. And plus, one thing that helped us was it's a lot easier to find people who can just write, because everyone has the tools to write written articles. Not everyone can do a video.
True. That's true.
I'm not saying that was our downfall or that this was a bad thing or anything. Or I didn't mean it with a negative.
No.
You were thinking ahead.
You were right for once.
It was exactly. Ginger was fucking right. Ginger wants fucking Acknowledgement, goddammit. That's what's happening.
Getting
The-
mad
I-
over here, Ginger Snaps.
I think
Exactly.
Nate hit something really correct there, though. I think, you talk about the current state of, video game journalism. You unfortunately have to, you are still dealing with a budget, depending on who you are, of ad revenue. You have to think about what's going to get clicks and what's going to get people to look at the ads and turn off their ad blocker on your site, right? And so you have to try to get articles there. I'm not going to name the site, but I
why
wrote,
not?
because I'm
Just
still
joking.
working.
Oh,
Because
right, yeah.
but there's a place that they just straight up, the editor told me, he's like, you have an amazing idea for this article. No one of our readers will click on that article. And he, without saying it, he pretty much was like, listen, you have an intellectual idea. No one here is going to give a shit about that. And I don't think he was calling his reader base dumb, but he basically was saying
He's catering to the lowest common denominator, right?
But he, that editor, he sees every week. I guarantee you, he looks at the numbers. He looks at the demographics and stuff that come in. And so he has a much better idea than I do of what's going to do well on his site. So even though he, sends me this email, it's like, oh, please get this published somewhere else. I can't wait to read that article. And you're sitting there frustrated because you're like, you could read it. Just pay me. But,
yeah.
That's the way it goes. And so a lot of these sites, thankfully, there are some places that are still like, oh, this is important. We're going to try to make this work. Now, a lot of places, if you do stuff, they'll give you a chance. They'll do it once or twice. But if it doesn't work, then there's no reason for them to keep paying you to do something nobody's going to click on.
Right.
So,
It's like, and like long form gaming content, writing gaming content is like, you can find it, but it's very rare these days.
You have to look.
You really have to
look.
look. Yeah. I have seen some, for lack of a better word, delightful long form, in-depth game articles, but yeah, it's rare, man. And you're not going to find it at IGN or GameSpot. Really, you'd have to look deeper than that usually.
Today, I released an article about 80s cartoons that only got one season. And I sent in the article. My article was 4,000 words. But the site that I'm writing for currently, pays by the word. And so, of course, they're going to cut it down. Any editor
to like half that.
Pretty much. Any editor is going to do it. But my biggest thing is there's a lot of little bits of information that I know as someone who's really interested in this subject, would love to be able to read an article and find out. But to them, they have to think about, okay, if somebody clicks on this article and they're reading all this information, are they going to get bored halfway through and then stop looking at the article? Or are they just going to be like,
right,
nope, that's too long. I'm not going to read that. So I do get it. But
yeah, TLDR, man. It's like, it's almost like you have to put a TLDR at the top, like a summary.
Sure.
All right. I think we covered this topic pretty good. I appreciate your insight, Wilds. Why don't we take a quick break? And when we come back, we will talk, I guess, gaming websites and gaming media, and specifically our experience with it. So be right back.
Look around first, of course.
Maybe when the pandemic's over, we might look into that.
More.
Not if you see the movie.
Yeah.
Hot soul dance. If you want something bad, yo, you're gonna give it all. As I believe so much of me, we're not kidding. If you feel me as me, yo, you're gonna wanna take it out. Now I found out that nothing is given. Don't wanna take the count. All I know is that we gotta get it. We gotta make it on now. Oh, well, I guess we're gonna have to take control.
I'm sorry,
buy him another one. If it's up to us, we got to take it home. Too hot to handle, too cold to hold. They call the Ghostbusters and they're in control. Had a throwing party with a bunch of children. All the wild comes under the building. So packed up the gift, gotta put my pants in the bag and they split. Turn it on my feet. Master Evil, got it back, my boys. That's not legal. You know it. Yeah, you know it.
More. We're back. And now we are going to talk, I guess, just gaming websites, gaming media. I'm going to start with the story of Gaming Rebellion. I'll try and not take too long. But for anyone, if you're someone who's paid attention to my channel since the beginning, you've noticed that there was a bumper I used to run in front of every video that was a Gaming Rebellion bumper, right? And that was our website. It's a website I started with two other guys I don't really talk to anymore, but that's okay. I'm not going to get into that. But along the way, we picked up guys like Derik, guys like Tony, guys like Nate. And look, we're still together doing something different, but Gaming Rebellion was kind of our baby, turned into it. And, we tried to do it the best we could. It was, we tried to be as professional as we could. We tried to get a bunch of different writers to write all different kinds of gaming content. We tried to not do typical stuff. We wanted more, I guess, more serious. I don't know. Although we had plenty of comical style articles too, but it was fun. It was fun and taxing, and we just wanted to kind of look back on that. Stephen Wilds, our guest, was one of our writers that was gracious enough to write for us for free, like everyone did. You know what? I did pay a few people though.
Towards the end.
Towards the end. If I wouldn't have got so burned out, maybe we could have continued. But basically what happened was we all got burned out, which is what happens, I think, with every independent gaming site after about, I think 3 years is about the threshold, and people are like, we just can't take it anymore. It's just too much. And it's
I mean, if it was like profitable at some point, it would have been a different story. But it was all just a passion, and it just got to the point where it was just like, I love this site, I love this thing that we've created, but I'm kind of done.
To clarify, the site is still there.
Yeah, it is still up.
The site is still there. I still pay the hosting fees because there's a lot of good content on there. A lot of it is some of it's timely content, right? But there's plenty of it on there that's kind of timeless. People just wrote articles about games, and about their experiences with games. And so I figure it's worth leaving up there because there's a lot of there's a ton of content on there, a ton of really cool articles. I think all of us here have written.
Yeah, I want to thank you for two reasons. One, as someone who has been writing for, 8 years at this point, I've had a lot of sites that I've written comic book reviews and movie reviews and all that kind of stuff that the site either doesn't exist anymore, or like with Playboy, they take everything down and they tell you, oh, we'll put it up, somewhere else on the site, and then they just revamp the site and don't do it. So
and it's gone forever.
So thank you for keeping this up. Also, because you kept it up, and when you revamped the site, it got rid of all the dates on all the articles. I have a particular article that I get messaged about usually once every 3 to 6 months. I wrote a piece for you that was an April Fool's Day piece on Plumbers Don't Wear Ties too. And
didn't I do the artwork for that? Didn't I do the header image?
You did. Yeah. Nate did my cover for that.
Yeah, Nate did all the headers, or the majority of the headers for the site, just FYI.
And so what's funny is, so I thought when writing this, satire is not my strong suit, but I love doing it. And when I, did this article, I thought, okay, no one's going to read this and think this is real. And when you initially posted it, it had the date, April 1st. However, like I said, when you revamped the site, it got rid of all the dates. And so I had several people messaged me asking me, "Hey, am I being an idiot, or is this like fake, or is this real?" You know, can you
Dude,
tell
there's
me?
actually a comment on the actual article where someone's asking you if they can borrow the prototype to archive it for history.
I did not even know that. I
He's
did
got it
not-
open right there.
Right
yeah.
here.
I did not even know that.
And I quote, "Wow, that's incredible. If you see this post, could you please ask privately if I could buy the prototype for archiving?" Spelled wrong. "You can make a backup beforehand. I just love Plumbers Don't Wear Ties for what it is and would love to keep it preserved for future generations. This is still great news. Some bitch never heard of punctuation in his fucking life."
So
That's
there's
amazing. I did not know this.
There's a pretty big YouTuber named Odd Header, Oddheader, and he did a video, probably over a year ago now, on like canceled video games that we never got. And so he, in the video, he says my name, which sure, that's
Oh,
fine.
no.
So he
Oh,
cites
jeez.
it. But then he says all this information about the prototype, and it's fake. You know, it's not real. I mean, if you read through that article, I say that one of my sources is somebody named like Molly Holly Trish Shipper, who was just a wrestling forum or something. And
It's Sasha Molly Holly Trish Shipper. I thought it
Thank
was
you.
going to spell shit out.
yeah, thank you. But I should have. But so I see his video. Somebody that I'm friends with on Discord points it out, and he's like, "This dude, you know, cited you in his thing," and I'm like, "That's great." And then I look at it, and I'm like, "Oh no, he cited an article that's an April Fool's Day joke." So I very politely, over on the video and on Twitter, I sent him a message. I'm like, "Hey, thanks for the shout out. Unfortunately, this isn't real." And like some other people in the comments, like even said that they're like, "I don't think that one's real." And so he saw the message and responded to it, but he never made a retraction. He never added a note or annotation. So I'm like, dude, you have thousands upon thousands of views on this thing. They're going to think this shit is real. It's not. This was just an April Fool's Day joke.
Steven, you
'cause I
do
was
realize that this is how the world works now. You like preempted this whole fake
But I
news
didn't
propaganda
mean-
shit.
I didn't mean to contribute to it. I was trying to tell a joke.
But this is how it works now. This is hilarious
Yeah.
because this is exactly how misinformation gets spread in the first
Sure,
place.
sure.
So for people that don't know, Plumbers Don't Wear Ties was an FMV 320 game, right?
If you can call it that.
Yeah.
It's more like PowerPoint, but go ahead.
Okay. I don't know anything about the game. I had to just look it up right now because I completely forgot about this. But
Oh,
yes,
it's bad. It's
yeah,
bad.
it looks atrocious. This looks like the type of game that Andrew would like, actually.
I'm
Speaking
sure.
of-
I had fun making the header for that one because I used the original box art for the first one to like make that. I'm not gonna, you know, the article and everything was all by Wilds for sure, but I was like trying to make it look authentic as well. Like
It was
so
great.
I modeled it after the original box art, and
Good enough that people
it was-
still think it's real to this day, apparently.
That's
Yeah.
fucking hilarious.
What year do you remember was it 2016 maybe when you wrote that, the April Fools, or 2017? Probably 2016.
Probably 2016.
Yeah.
And the
4
thing
years ago.
is like, I think it works because you guys didn't have a ton of satire on that site. Like, it was
No.
like maybe 3 or 4
A
articles.
little bit, yeah.
So
we had
everything else, look, it was legit. And so I think people see it and it's like, no, this has to be real.
God, that's so funny, man.
The one thing that I loved is, Steven, you remember we did every now and then we do like a group article, and you were usually the
Round
ringleader.
tables. Yeah.
Or let's be honest here, the babysitter. And the one that I remember doing is we did an April Fool's one, and it was so much fun to write.
Oh,
remember
I'm
that.
yeah.
trying to
yeah.
find that now.
Oh,
Yep.
right.
Yep.
Honestly, we did a few of those, and those were all fun. Those were an act of hurting cats, but it was great. The
Yeah.
finished products were a lot of fun.
Yeah,
I
we
mean,
had
it was gold in the end, but you were pushing smoke into a Coke bottle with a baseball bat.
We should talk a little bit about this. This is much less interesting, but we should kind of talk about how we organized and ran the site, because I think it might be interesting for people that haven't run a gaming site or don't know anything about it. I mean,
LOL, organized.
yeah, right. Our organization. Hey, man, we tried. Like, we had a Facebook group where all contributors were in there, right? And we'd shoot ideas around, and we would
Mhm.
post every new article and say, promote this, go to social media, promote, and like 2 people would, we had admins. I was an admin, Nate, Tony, Derik. We were the the admins. Oh, there's the article. That's it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we
okay.
were basically saying that these games are great. You should play them.
I love the one Superman 64 where his head's in the ground.
And we put it in Comic Sans because we're assholes.
I did that. That was my choice. I remember editing that, and I put it in Comic Sans intentionally, just because it was an.
I love that header.
The Duke Nukem South Park.
I made headers for all those games and all the April.
So for people listening, what article is this, Derik? Scroll to the top. This is an April. Is this an April Fool's article?
Yeah, this is an April Fool's Day
collaborative.
article of the greatest games ever.
Okay.
For example, I reviewed Duke Nukem Forever. Aaron Alcorn, he did Aliens, Colonial Marines. Just a bunch of
that's right, horrible games.
Oh, man.
Oh God. Steven reviewed Superman 64.
Right.
Yep.
Because if I remember right, he started a thread getting this ready, and it was, hey, we're only going to let each person do one game. And it was a fucking free-for-all as soon as he said, by the way, dibs on Superman 64.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, all right. So we were reviewing the greatest games of all time, right? Yeah. And of course, we picked horrible, terrible games. This must have been April Fool's, like 2017.
Yeah, this was
maybe.
One of the first April Fool's Day we ever did.
It was fantastic. Once it all came together, I love seeing these roundtable articles were great.
Yeah, it was fun, and like I said, we had a Facebook group. We had I had to redesign the site twice, I think. The original guy who I started the site with.
You did it by choice once,
right? Well, the first guy, I won't even get into it, but Derik knows better than anybody because you were around when he was there too. But I redesigned the whole site, so we had to redo everything from scratch. It's a lot of work. Although we had Matt helped out with the web end too for a while.
Near the last bit.
Yeah. Oh, what are you trying to say, Tony? What are you trying to say?
I mean, he got some stuff going for us for sure, but I mean, I feel like he never really followed through with anything.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
Didn't we have someone before that was helping us with the web the back end? Was it Levi? Was Levi?
Levi was doing
the guy named
right
Levi.
Nate came in.
He was the graphic guy before.
That's right. Levi designed our logo and
the original logo. Yeah.
Him and Nate butted heads a bit, if I recall correctly.
I mean,
a little bit.
No more than any other two artists would.
Right. Well, I mean, I butted heads with people too. Me and Matt butted heads continually and constantly, if I recall.
And you, well, no. I think most of my head butting was with you, and it was because I was trying to. I mean, it's a whole.
You were trying to streamline, and I was always making more work.
Well, not only that, but I was also. So one of the things that I wanted to kind of talk about when it came to running the website was. Wilds hit on it earlier and said that it's all about how much you're willing to compromise in ad revenue to actually be profitable.
Right.
Or at the time I was out of work, and so not only was I building my portfolio, which is how I looked at it, I was kind of hoping that GR was going to end up turning. I think the guy who recruited me to GR, who left not too long afterwards. He recruited me under the guise of this is going to pay. This is going to pay.
Dude, I remember that that was it. What was that? What was the series you wrote with Halo? Crossover.
It needs to come back, Nate.
I'm not a writer, man. I'm a graphics guy. I'm really
dude.
Not
You wrote perfectly fine, actually. I mean, your writing was good.
I remember you writing.
Yeah,
a little bit. Let me continue, Nate. Who was that they recruited you? Do you remember who it was? Was it Levi?
No, I think it was Riz.
No, it was
Oh, was it Rizzard Core? And that's all we'll say about him.
So Anyway, so it's when running a website like this, it really comes down to one thing that Zack would not debate is no pop-up ads. And I remember even when we started advertising on there just a little bit, it has to be not intrusive. It has to be, something that is just off to the side. And it's there's a reason why a lot of these no-name sites you go to, 14 ads pop up, and it's because those guys usually wouldn't be able to like you're fortunate enough that you have a good paying job. That was another thing, was you also said that like you didn't want, which is understandable. You had a good job. There was no reason to turn what you like to do into a job at the time. You know what I mean? But there's a lot that goes into
even
it.
though it became
basically,
even though it became one, running the site became a job after a while.
Oh,
I think for all of us,
mean,
you know.
I was out of work at the time, and it was actually, we were a daily publication. Like I actually work
5 days a week, sometimes more.
I work for a media company now where we do publications, and we would put out, in our prime, I think the most articles we would ever put out in a day were maybe 3 or 4, and that was when we had so much content that we were just trying to flush stuff out. But a lot of people had misconceptions about us. Like, we were doing all that shit for free.
Yeah, we had a lot of friction with certain people in the community. They're like, you do it, well, we're not making anything. I'm like,
they were thinking that we were making
money off
profit
them,
off the site, off their work,
stuff.
And not paying them. It was like, no, we are not making any kind of money. This is all
the money. The only money we made went to hosting, and I said that towards the end, like talking about with Wilds, I paid a few people. I offered to pay a few.
We got offers for ads a lot, but
I still get them. I still
get offers for them.
Yeah,
but it's like we would run a few
up.
things here and there, but we didn't want pop-ups or all the other shit.
Just to walk the listeners through the process of what usually would happen. So we had our admin team, which is really who ran the website, and it was me, Zack, Brasel, Derik. That was the hardcore 4 at the end, and for a good majority. And basically, somebody like Wilds, we'd have a good writer come to us, and he would
seeking him out too.
Well, yeah, that. But I guess the process for us is that when the article is submitted, basically, very rarely, like, we would edit it. We did our own editing, even though none of us were an actual editor. like we would try to edit as best as possible.
I learned a lot, actually.
Andrew still gives me shit about editing my articles, and I have to be like, I know for a fact that I was not the worst person you had to edit.
No,
and I've grown a lot since then, but like, he gives me so much shit.
Did I actually make Andrew edit stuff? I guess I did for a while.
There was one. I remember
about that,
Tony edited one of mine, and apparently it was too long because his first response as soon as he started reading it, "Fuck you." Fuck you.
We actually had a couple of English second language guys as well.
We did.
And
David.
Some of their articles were atrocious to try and figure out.
I usually got his.
We would have a chain of emails just trying to figure out what the hell they were trying to say.
We'd have to draw straws to see who was going to do David's article. His were like so long, and they was all broken English, but...
But basically,
so
an article would come in, and we would have a whole cache of articles, or at least we tried to keep a cache of articles. And every day, 2-3 articles, we would be like, okay, like we always had a morning meeting, pretty much. We were always like, okay, so what are we putting out today?
Yep.
Get the header images for them. Or actually, we usually did it a day.
Yeah, we did it evening because I would set the tweets and stuff up morning before I left for work.
I was going to say, we usually did it for a day in advance. Like, what are we running for tomorrow or whatever? Yeah, so...
when we had a lot of content, we used to do it like on Sunday nights. We kind of had I don't want to say a straight up plan, but we had an idea of what we were wanting to do. Cause
we'd
schedule stuff a little bit.
We always had certain days like Ponder Nerdcast was on Mondays.
Yeah.
In the biz, we call that a budget. We call that a budget for we would budget out the week every weekend. So we treated it like a job. Unfortunately, we just weren't getting paid for it.
We did, yeah.
And the quality that we were putting out, people thought we were getting paid for it. Like we had a couple of writers that they were hard to work with because they just came with this attitude of like we owed them something, like we owed them to get it up there and get it right and get, have the best header image and have the best, make sure it was just.
And you're going to have that with, I'm going to tell you now, anyone out there who wants to start a gaming site or any site, you're going to have issues with people who want their shit to be the first. They think they need to be first, and the only way you can really do things and make it work is to treat everyone the exact same. I don't care how close a friend you are, because even like our own stuff, we wouldn't get up the next day.
It also really depend if it was a timed article.
Yeah,
if
we
it
would
was
make
something that
exceptions,
just
of
came
course.
out, but yeah, it was really rough. Especially like I said, when you're doing something for a passion, kind of like Brasel said earlier, man, the passion you can only have for so long before it kind of just burns out a little bit.
Without some sort of even compensation. I don't know, I mean, I guess if we were all getting paid $100,000 a year to run that site, we would have been more enthusiastic.
Oh, dude, we'd
obviously.
still be doing it.
We'd still be doing it, right? But even so, even your favorite thing in the world, Final Fantasy 14,
this
whatever,
podcast be
you're gonna get burned out.
Fellas.
But it was still a good experience. I think.
Yeah,
overall, put aside the lifelong friends that you get out of it. I mean, just the working with self-made deadlines, working with a bunch of different people. Like the hardest thing for me as the graphic designer of the fucking site, the hardest thing was we were mostly retro based. And so it was hard to get good images sometimes of these retro games, like ones that weren't caught on a capture screen that were super fucking tiny. You know what I mean?
We had so many arguments about image quality and what was passable and what wasn't.
I gotta tell you a story real quick. So at one point, I had a column on Gaming Rebellion called "Wild's Comics Conundrum."
Yep,
So
I remember.
Oh, I used to love making
title.
the headers for those. Man, those are awesome.
But one of my first ever pieces for that column was on this comic book. It was like a Christian superhero comic called Lightbringer or something.
I remember that, man. I remember that.
But so what I had to do is I go online and there is literally 2 images for this comic online, and they were both crap. And so Zack contacts me. He's like, "Man, is there any way that you can get images for these?" And so what I did is I bought an extra copy of the comic off of eBay. And I took it to a friend's house because I didn't have a scanner at the time. And we stapled the comic and laid all the pages up flat.
Was that him, the Illuminator?
Illuminator.
I made that header. I was like, he's not a nobody. He's going to kick Superman's ass. Right
I said Lightbringer.
That's right. He was punching him in the face.
Yeah. Not only that, but I put kryptonite in his hand. He's got kryptonite while he's punching him in the face.
You're right, man.
Quarters.
But I remember having to search for images for some of those articles, and I loved the Comics Conundrum because there's always something I'd never heard of, which I'm not a comic book guy, I admit, but it was still cool to learn something new like that. But man, it would be scouring, and even some of the game articles we'd have to do the same thing. Nate would be the night before, because I would do a lot of the images.
Dude, I'd assign people to go into games and do screen captures sometimes. They would do it. They would go in and just cap the screen.
Oh,
so they were
dude,
good quality.
You used to kick my ass about images all the time.
Yeah.
You talk about not getting paid for something. That was an article. I paid to get the original comic, and because I am or was a comics collector,
you paid us.
I'm like, well, I'm not going to tear apart my copy of the comic, so I bought another one, and it wasn't super expensive, but it wasn't dirt cheap either because they didn't make a lot of those. So
it's probably for the best they didn't.
Yeah, probably.
Dude, I completely forgot about that. I remember now the conversation.
I
can't find any good images online of this thing.
He looks like somebody's dad who rides a moped on Saturdays when he's bored.
Yeah, he looks like the poor man's speed racer. That's really what he looks like.
It's hilarious, dude.
But yeah, I will say this, man. Some of the best times of my life was hanging out in Gaming Rebellion chat, our Gaming Rebellion Facebook group on Friday nights, when it was half of us were drunk and other ones weren't, but we have some of the weirdest threads, and I loved every fucking minute of them.
I have to thank all of you guys because I, made some really good friends from that time. I met, even the people who weren't friends, I met some of the most interesting characters from that Facebook group. And then 2, I was working at this site and 2 others at the time, all not for pay until the Playboy gig happened. And those really helped me get good enough to where my portfolio let me do stuff like the Playboy and all that. So,
yeah, well, dude, thanks for writing. You know, I mean, you and everybody else who wrote for free, and God, man, we had
so much.
a
good
lot of
stuff.
writers over those 3 years or so. You know, that came, some stayed till the end, like you, and there's others that came and went. You know, but it was.
I was bummed when you said you weren't, going to be adding new content.
You know, I'm not gonna lie. Like in our little, me, Nate, and Tony and Derik have our own little chat still to this day. But every once in a while, and it's usually Derik will bring it up. Hey, let's restart Gaming Rebellion. And then I remember one time Tony's like, "I'm gonna restart Gaming Rebellion," but no, nothing ever happened.
Yeah,
I was the
Because it's
Gaming
like-
Rebellion partisan.
It's just, it's if I could just hire someone and be like, "I'm gonna oversee you," and you can.
Dude.
But it's like, yeah, I just can't. Yeah,
The amount of work that goes into
it's so
that
much.
every
The whole
day,
site would have to be redesigned.
It takes a
and-
team. Like it
It
takes
does.
a team.
Yeah, it does, man.
If you're not monetizing, especially like if you have no,
Dude.
you know what I mean. Like if one person was doing it all, like oh my god,
We'd rotate editing too. We would rotate each other
Mhm.
off. I remember coming home and editing articles after work,
Yep.
and getting them ready for the next day, and then sending Nate, we need the header, and you could do the header. It's crazy, dude.
And
Yeah.
it was crazy to me.
And
because-
writing at the same time. We'd all of us wrote. Nate
Yeah.
the least. Nate wrote a few articles, but Tony
I
wrote
did a lot
shit.
of header images.
You did,
so,
you did.
know.
Yeah,
I'm talking about writing though. Writing. Derik wrote a shitload of articles. Tony wrote a shitload. I wrote a handful.
Oh, yeah.
Just mine.
And you guys were
took
doing
longer.
videos too. You and Tony both.
That's right.
Steven was
Yeah.
writing shit ton because not just us, for everywhere.
Yeah.
But it was crazy to me because you could just tell Nate the barest shit for an article. He'd be like, "All right." About
Yeah,
30 minutes
and-
later, you come back like, "Dude, how the fuck?"
Yeah.
I don't like how you just depicted me in that. You're like, all right,
No, he's
I'll
right,
make a
though.
header image for you. I got you.
He's right though, because I think every image that was ever done for one of my articles in Game Rebellions has been really good. Like the video game cartoons one, the Silent Hill where it has the horror gone. But my favorite one by far is I did an article comparing why I thought Far Cry 3 and Far Cry 4 were the same game, and Nate did this beautiful piece where it was the bad guy from Far Cry 4 pulling his face off like it was a mask, but it was the image was the one from
Pull it up
Far Cry
there.
3. It was Voss, and so yeah, that
There
was,
it is.
There it is. Yeah.
and that's
Wow.
still like
Yeah,
I've
yeah.
had professional, like when I did a Vice a Vice article. I did a Vice article not long ago, and they hired an artist just to do an image just for my article and stuff like that, and I still, this is one of my favorites to this day still.
Well, I appreciate
Yeah.
it, man. That was, I feel like one of those rock stars who did shit on drugs because I don't remember. I
It's
honestly
because
don't
you did
remember
so
this
many,
one.
dude. You did hundreds
Dude,
of these
I was
things.
pumping those out all the
Yeah.
fucking time back in the day. But yeah, dude, that one actually came out really well. Funny thing about that specific image. So I did that header, but then I don't know if you guys ever knew of the IGN guys back in the day, Greg Miller and
Yeah, it's kind of funny now.
Yeah.
Kind of funny. Yeah.
and Brian Altano. They used to do Up at Noon together, and I made an image where Greg Miller was sitting in the purple suit and he had his hand on Altano's head, and that was anyway. That specific image
Yeah.
got used a lot when it first came out, for sure.
Sure.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah, that's brilliant, dude. I remember seeing that, but I didn't appreciate it as much as I do now after Wild.
God, he had so
described
many
it.
fucking good ones.
Yeah,
What-
that
who
was
did the-
really very creative.
Who
He
did
did
the
that.
article where it was like Call of Duty, but I ended up using a politician?
Oh, that was
on the
mine. I
front?
did something about
Derek, you used
Free
it
to
for
plays.
you used it for your avatar forever, didn't you?
yeah.
Oh yeah, I remember that avatar. I remember him having the avatar.
It was some economist guy or something, right?
Yeah, it's,
some old guy that
Milton
he used.
Friedman's my
Milton
favorite
Friedman.
economist. I'm trying to find it. There it is.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
God, I mean, it was just
So good, man. It was like, what the fuck, yo?
I mean, because
So
I gave
good.
him the
I was
barest
specifically
ideas,
proud about that one. I
And,
was like,
dude,
yes.
and Nate messaged me just straight. Me and him goes, dude, I got this. It's like, is this cool or not? I don't know if it's good or not. I'm like, let me
Yeah.
see. I'm like, dude, what the fuck is wrong with you? This is amazing.
So-
I do. I
so
can do
hold
this,
on.
this, and this better.
We've mentioned this on the podcast before, but Derek wrote this Nest Collecting. It's called Nest Collecting and the Law of Supply and Demand. I believe it was the only viral article I think we ever had. It was into the tens of thousands of views. It just kept going and going and going.
And
It's
man,
really good. It's really a good article. It's still relevant today. I don't know how many price comparisons you used. Maybe the pricing's off now, but it
I'm
was.
sure it is.
It explained it really well, though. How and I did all those images.
One of my favorite jokes I've ever written is in this article. It's from the Storage Wars image. It's got the guy.
Yeah.
Look in the back. I said, someone tell him you can't tell the sex of NES that way.
Yeah, I like that too.
God, do I know the pain of having that one joke that you're fighting with the editor? Like, look, you have to leave this in there. This is my
too
magnum.
much.
This is my magnum opus for this article.
I lost a job over censorship, and it wasn't even like, I mean, technically it was a job. It was a paying job, but there was another website called Game Raven. I still have their T-shirt. They sent me a T-shirt.
I remember that one.
I was working for them for a little while, and they sent it. I was actually just editing for them, and one of the titles had shit in it, had the word shit in it. And me coming from a paper background, a newspaper background, it was like, well, obviously you can't have shit in your fucking headline. So like I changed it. And I even looked into, anyway, it was a long ass fucking story. The guy who actually ran the website took me taking that out super offensively. Like took it like, well, you're not going to censor us around here. And I don't appreciate you changing writers, words and stuff. It was like, oh, well, A, first off, I'm the editor. That's kind of my job. But B, I mean, it's like, I'm new, anyway, it was a whole debacle, but censorship and fucking,
so let me brag a little bit. Derik, pull up your Area 51 article.
Oh, I love that header.
I made some headers too, and not anywhere near as many as Nate. I filled in when Nate was unavailable, so I did this one for Derik.
I didn't learn even the basics of image editing until years afterwards. I'm trying to find it.
So one of us.
Oh God, yeah, dude, I was so fucking stoked when you showed me that.
Yeah, it was like a Megadeth. Area 51.
There it is.
Yeah, there it is. And I did it in black and white, and I thought it was pretty cool.
Oh yeah,
pretty cool.
It.
Had the aliens in the background, and I had the Rust in Peace guy holding the Mars Attacks head.
Yeah, big rattlehead on it.
Yeah, that was a fun one.
There's shit in the background. The actual aliens from Area 51 are in the back. Yeah,
from the game. Yeah.
I spent like a fucking metal cover, is what.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was going for. Yeah, and I spent way too much time on that. Way too much time.
Toward the end, I didn't get a chance to read as much as I'd like from Gaming Rebellion. But when I first started there, anything by you guys or Lumps or Aaron, like I always
Lumps,
read,
man,
because it was just fun articles. Like all of them were either informative or really fun.
Lumps did some fantastic tutorials, man. Like he did some, his tutorials did really well too. We got a lot of those got quite a few views.
The pie cabinet.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, the little tutorial videos he did. Those lasted a long time. They probably some of them.
I still use stuff that he taught me from that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Go to the. Don't we have an author section there? Go to the author section real quick.
Well, this doesn't have everyone because
it doesn't, but it has the people.
Us four.
Yeah, you got Lance. Yeah, you got my brother who wrote like one or two things. You got Lumps. There's Wilds. Then we got DJ MMT, who I still talk to on Twitter occasionally. David, Guerncia, Brent. I still talk to Brent. He's down in Miami in the epicenter of this shit right now.
I talked to him a good bit on Twitter.
Yeah, Daria, she did her videos anyway. Rewind. Oh yeah, I guess we were posting Rewind Mike's videos for a while. Wolf Eyes. Oh, whatever happened to that guy? Scroll up a little bit there. Who else was there? We got
Wally, great dude.
Yeah. Matt Faraday had some really good articles.
Matt was amazing. He just disappeared. He just, I think he lost.
He moved to China.
That's what it was. He moved to China.
He moved to China.
Yeah, he wrote some amazing stuff too, man. Yeah, Ken McLean. I don't even know who that. Oh, Gazillionaire. Duh. Okay. Todd. Yeah, Todd wrote some hilarious stuff. Tatiana, I remember her. She wrote some stuff.
Yeah.
Mike Maverick, cool. we won't talk about.
Yeah, we'll skip him.
But yeah, man, it was fun times with Gaming Rebellion. So before we go, Wilds, why don't you tell us, give us some self promo. Like, what have you written lately?
Sure. I've been writing about cartoons lately. I put out an article about 90s cartoons that only got one season, and like I said today, I put out one about 80s cartoons that only got one season.
Okay, cool.
I've been writing a lot of accessibility articles for Lad Bible and for Polygon and some other stuff. I do a little bit of everything. I've been doing some YouTube scripts for a couple of guys, and
I didn't know that.
I'm
Cool.
doing a lot. Most of my stuff that you're going to find regularly right now is going to be on Looper. I've been on Looper lately.
Okay, Looper. Yep.
Yeah, and I do a little bit of everything. The easiest way to keep up with me is to follow me on Twitter, because that's where it gets posted first usually, and that is at Stephen Wilds, StephenWilds. And I do have a place where I collect all my articles, so I have like a portfolio I can show off to people
Awesome.
and editors and stuff, and you can find the link on my Twitter on there. Plus, other than that, I'm always writing something. I'm always either playing a game or writing something, doing work. So, just depends what the subject is and who's willing to pay for it.
All right. Well, on behalf of Nate Rowe, Tony Brasel, Derik Moore, our featured guest Stephen Wilds, I'm
Thanks
Zack
again.
Smith. We're the Gamefellas, and we'll see you
Hey,
next
Nate.
time.
3 seashells.
3 she cells.
Had to do it, didn't you? You had to do
3
it.
she cells.
Later.
See ya.
With all the people buying up all the toilet paper and shit, like we're gonna need 3 she shells.
Yeah.
I know, dude.
Dude,
Oh my
who
God,
the
you're
fuck
right.
are you telling?
He doesn't know how to use the 3 she shells.
Dude, you're absolutely right. That is hilarious. Well, I got plenty of seashells I can get. I'm right by the beach. Except that it's closed.
There you go.
So, Wilds, that's really as close as you got to get it to your face to be able to see it? Wow,
Yeah, man.
dude.
I ain't lying about this legally blind shit.
Yeah, man.
I have a magnifying glass, but with the phone, that sometimes I need it. But like for Facebook Messenger, it's the background is the contrast is good enough where I don't need the magnifier.
That's crazy, man. Yeah, I know you. I remember you saying you're legally blind, but shit.
Yeah, I mean, I'm considered fully disabled because of my vision. Like I can't do most jobs and can't drive. Can't.
Man, remind me when we do
operate
an episode on visually impaired gaming to have you on again. Could do a whole topic just on that, you know.
Works for me.
All right, ready? 3, 2, 1. Every time, man.
God damn it, man.
Okay, let's try that again.
I've only used this program one other time, other than tonight, and that was just to do my taxes. So,
To do your
Mine
taxes.
doesn't work.
You use
Yeah,
Zoom to do your taxes?
well, I had to have a meeting with someone.
Oh, that's
'cause
like
they were
what?
helping me. They were helping me do my taxes.
Okay, all right. I
And
see.
let me tell you, I think you might know this. I'm not sure, but doing taxes as a freelancer is balls. It is.
Taxation
Oh
is theft.
yeah, man! You got a 1099 everything, right?
You have to 1099
That
everything. They
sucks.
take out so much, and
Oh, dude.
you're better if you do it quarterly. But I
Yeah.
always forget to try to do
Yep.
that, and so
Dude, I know your pain because I was an LLC for a while, and I had the 1099 all my income, and
see,
dude,
I thought you might be.
I ended up with like owing $4,000 or $5,000 in taxes sometimes at the end of the year, and I'd have to scramble and get the money together, and it was a fucking nightmare, dude.
Yeah, no, I don't know.
I know your pain, man.
Yeah.
I know exactly how that is, and not only that, but you pay when you're I'm pretty sure the tax rate is higher like that as
It
opposed to
is.
if you were on just
It is.
payroll.
Yeah,
So yeah, that
It is,
sucks.
you have to
Man.
pay self-employment tax
Yep,
plus
yeah,
you
Yep.
have to pay your FICA tax that the employer would pay.
Yeah.
It's pretty much saying
Derek knows.
fuck
Yeah.
you for
Yes.
wanting to work for yourself.
It is,
and
yeah.
plus on top of all that, the shit sandwich topping is that fucking H&R Block actually charges you more to file your taxes self-employed. Not just does the government charge you more. H&R Block,
Hit and run block.
they're like, oh man, that's like an extra like piece of paper we have to fill out.
My accountant died right before this pandemic hit, so my whole accounting firm his company, does my taxes are all fucked right now. Like run around, and they laid off everybody, and like there's a new firm trying to come in and take over, and it's a fucking mess, dude. It's like, yeah, for me anyway.
Anybody else's butt itch?
Hey,
So anyway.
I'm sure you know this, but I know in the beginning of the video you actually said coronavirus, but you know a bunch of videos are getting demonetized for language use and stuff, right?
Huh?
You from saying coronavirus?
You
Yeah.
gotta be fucking kidding me.
No, have y'all not read about this?
No.
There-
I'm
there's
I'm guessing because it's like
I guess I'll bleep it out.
Yeah, like I watch the Game Grumps in the background while I write a
Right.
lot, and so they just keep calling it the Backstreet Boys reunion because there's been a bunch of information going around that basically YouTube. I think Philip DeFranco talked about it too. YouTube sees it as a fear mongering thing or fears pandemic or panic spread thing,
that's
and so.
Dear God.
I don't
Does
know.
YouTube have any like
Or they don't want people
precision
making money
tools?
off of.
this is
Right.
why I don't do this shit anymore. I just don't.
And I don't honestly. It may be one of those things where it's whether you say it in the first minute or whatever, because there's a bunch of different weird things with YouTube right now. But
Thanks, I'll cut it out.
Well, I just wanted to make sure you knew that was a thing.
You should bleep it. You should
Yeah.
bleep it. And
I'll bleep
just,
it
like,
with the
make
word
make it a joke.
coronavirus over my face. See what they say.
Like I kind of always want to start saying it like every 5 minutes now just to fuck you over, Z.
Thanks, man. We didn't butt heads at all, man. And like in chat, and on Twitter, we're always like disagreeing on things.
Yeah, I don't know what that is.
It's just pop culture stuff, man, that we
Yeah.
disagree on.
Internet tough guy.
Yep.
That's all it is. You guys internet tough guy on each other, and then when you get in the same
Yeah.
room, you're like,
It's like,
oh, what's
oh.
up? That's so awesome.
You guys have seen all the outtakes of people like going to the bathroom and stuff on their Zoom calls, right?
Yeah.
I actually don't think I've seen that one.